999 is one of the first numbers that you learn at school, but what happens when the emergency services are not really the emergency services?
Ever since the days of Dixon of Dock Green and Z-Cars, our interest in the emergency services have grown to such an extent that modern day TV is full of fly-on-the-wall documentaries that show what our emergency services go through on a day-to-day basis.
But what this has also done is provided criminals and fantasists with information about the inner workings of our emergency services in order to dupe the public. But would they be able to get hold of such convincing things like uniforms or even vehicles?
In the 2014 hit film Let's Be Cops, two friends decide to go to a fancy dress party dressed as police officers, with some really funny scenes along the way. They go from one extreme to another until they go full hog and buy the full kit, including a car.
Where'd you get this thing? eBay, dude!
Amazing what Hollywood comes up with, isn't it? But while watching it, it was then that my wife asked,
"Do you think it would be that easy?"
And I replied, "Nah, surely not." But that got me thinking. So, me being as curious as I am, I decided to start looking into it.
So as a filmmaker, I would use uniforms as props to help sell the story and bring you, the public, into the world of the production. But just how easy is it to get hold of these items?
For amateur filmmakers, you would resort to online shopping, where, as we all know, you can buy anything, from computer games to sex, drugs and rock and roll. But in Let's Be Cops, they mention buying the car off eBay, so I suppose that's as good a place as any to start. In 2016, eBay estimated that it had 165 million users and sales produced $80 billion in 2015. So with those type of figures, who is making sure that the guidelines are followed when it comes to what is being sold? And does anyone actually care? eBay's policy are as follows. With some exceptions, we generally don't allow listings for law enforcement badges or official law enforcement equipment from any public entity. This includes police badges and official equipment from law enforcement agencies or the fire brigade, ambulance service or other emergency services from the United Kingdom, Ireland, United States or any other country. Well, in order to test eBay's policy, I decided to do a bit of shopping on the site. And it looks like eBay isn't policing, pardon the pun, the sale of police equipment or from any of the emergency services. As a matter of fact, eBay is full of this stuff, so I thought I would try a few test purchases just to see how easy it would be for any criminal, fantasists or terrorists to get what they needed. Okay, now let's see if anything turns up.
In the meantime, I asked 4 of the region's police forces how many calls have the force received in the last 3 years in relation to the public falsely claiming to be one of the 3 emergency services, those being the police, ambulance and fire. 3 out of the 4 regions' forces replied, with the exception of Merseyside. But here's the information received from the others.
Greater Manchester Police claim that they have had 710 calls relating to people claiming to be police officers, while there are 46 calls relating to people falsely claiming to be from the fire service and 45 to be from the ambulance service. However, Cheshire Police claim to have had a total of 1,485 hoax calls, but found none relating to the criteria of my request. Lancashire Police responded from dates from 2011 to 2014, and their reply was absolutely astonishing. Their total was over 23,000 calls, but I'm suspecting that these numbers are all sorts of bogus callers and not just relating to the emergency services. So, it looks like the problem is much bigger than what I thought, which is quite concerning. But these tend to be crime-related subjects like bogus callers, theft, etc. But what happens when these uniforms are used in the name of terrorism? It's a known fact that terrorist groups around the world use such props to cause mayhem and destruction, and you only have to read the news to see that in places like Iraq and Afghanistan they have used such items to devastating effect. So, why are eBay making it so easy for these things to be bought without any checks on their site? Is it greed on eBay's part, or is it a lack of UK law in relation to the sale of this type of equipment? In the meantime, the equipment that I ordered off eBay has arrived, and I have to say, I was shocked by how easy it was to get my hands on this stuff.
Well, as you can see, all the stuff from eBay has now arrived. I'm going to show you what I've got. Start off with the badges. Managed to get hold of a police badge, and another police badge, and another police badge, ambulance badge, police community support officer badge, customs badge, police community support officer, traffic, and scientific services department, which I think is now CSI within the police. Also, some of the other stuff that I managed to get was a pair of quick cuffs, which are what all the UK police forces use at this moment in time. Comes with a key, and it's a real deal, as you can hear. Police radio with an earpiece. Now, it doesn't work, but then again, it doesn't need to, because you're just trying to fool the public. A set of blue lights, a police lanyard, and an ambulance lanyard. Epaulets with numbers on. Police community support epaulets. Make sure you can see that. Ambulance jacket, NHS wrote on it. Ambulance jacket, Northwest Ambulance wrote on it. Police hat. Now, I'm a bit concerned about this one because it's actually got the person's collar number and name inside. So if it is actually an active number, collar number, it could be used. So that's from Lincolnshire Police, okay? PCSO, police cap, police barrier tape, police jacket with epaulets on it, or epaulets is it? Police equipment vest with police wrote on it. The one that got me the most is I managed to get hold of this. Now, this is known as an ASP, or a police baton. There you go. Now, the thing is, this is not a real ASP, it's not a real police baton, it's a training baton. But, again, if you're trying to fool the public, ideal piece of kit. And to be honest, if you were to get whacked across the face with that, it would really hurt. So that's all that equipment. The question is, why would a member of the public need this equipment? No checks have been made whatsoever. Nobody asked why I needed blue lights. Nobody asked why I need a police radio, why I need cuffs, why I need jacket, basically why I need the whole lot. Nobody asked anything. All I did was go on eBay, click, buy, boom, it's here. Now that to me is really scary, especially in today's climate. Obviously we've got terrorists out there, we've got criminals using this sort of thing. It really does concern me. It really does. Now, I can understand, as a filmmaker, I would need this sort of thing to make a film. Totally get that. But checks should still be made. At the end of the day, you're looking at something that has potential life-threatening circumstances at the end of it. Now, police officers wouldn't need to buy this kit off eBay because they get it part of the job. Ambulance service, fire brigade, etc. If that's your job, you don't need to go out and buy this stuff. This is what you get kitted out with. So there's no reason for a member of the public to have this sort of thing. The way eBay are getting around it, partly, is by saying, well, it's obsolete. Now, with all due respect, what's obsolete to a police officer will not be obsolete to a member of the public. I could not tell you what is obsolete in any of that. But to prove the point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of myself in a police uniform, and then I'm going to go and ask the public whether they think it's obsolete or not. And if I turned up at their door or stopped them in the street wearing that uniform, would they think I was a police officer? Now this should be interesting.
This is a photo of me in the police uniform that I bought off eBay, which I show to the public, as you can see. I made sure that each person took a good look at the photo and then asked them a series of questions. The uniform is instantly recognisable as that of a British police officer, and love them or hate them, they are our front line when it comes to keeping us safe. So what do the public think? If I stopped you in the street or knocked on your door looking like that in that uniform, would you know if I was a fake police officer or not?
No.
No, I wouldn't.
No.
No.
Well, no, I wouldn't know you were fake.
No.
No.
I wouldn't know.
No.
No.
No, I really wouldn't be able to tell.
Would you know that that uniform is classed as obsolete?
No. No. No way.
No, not really.
No.
No, I wouldn't know.
No, absolutely no idea.
To be honest, no, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't know.
No, I wouldn't have known.
Would you be surprised if I told you that I bought that off eBay with no checks and nobody asked why I needed them?
I'd like to say I would be surprised, but I wouldn't, just because of how people can get hold of things these days. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a good thing.
Really? Oh, I'd be shocked.
I would be very surprised and quite disgusting, quite frankly.
Not really, no. You can buy anything on eBay.
Not at all. I've seen them on eBay.
I'd be amazed and very disappointed. That doesn't sound right at all.
I'd be absolutely shocked.
It wouldn't surprise me, no.
That's worrying. Because you could get anybody at your door then, couldn't you?
So what do you think the risks are to the public?
Well, a child would think it was genuine. A child wouldn't know the difference. If a grown-up doesn't know the difference, a child's definitely not going to know the difference.
Could be a paedophile.
Somebody pretends to be a police officer, knocks on somebody's door, and then, especially the elderly, well, even me, you just think it's a policeman. Most people don't check, do they?
No.
Don't look close enough.
I think maybe a young child would be quite impressionable and probably take you on board, or the uniform on board.
Yeah, because you're opening yourself up to terrorist acts, aren't you?
Would you be surprised if I told you that I could buy a full ambulance kit as well, including the car with blue lights?
Yeah. Really, can you?
Yeah.
That's dangerous, that.
Now, that's the public's reaction, and that just shows you how clueless we actually are when it comes to what the real thing looks like.
But, as I have pointed out, it's not just police that people are faking. There are numerous stories of people pretending to be fire officers and ambulance crew, so much so that even the College of Paramedics are concerned after it came to light that a member of the public was dressed up as a paramedic and was putting people's lives at risk. They quoted, "The College of Paramedics is increasingly concerned over the safety and well-being of members of the public following the recent surge of numbers of fake paramedics." And followed up by saying, "The seriousness of imposter paramedics is recently been highlighted in the case of Joshua Martin. This shows how dressing up as a paramedic and driving around in an ambulance, criminals can manipulate their way into the lives of the most vulnerable people in society and cause them harm or worse."
So, who is Joshua Martin? And what is it that he's actually done?
Joshua Martin was a very dangerous person who adopted personas that put him in contact with vulnerable people. He dressed as a paramedic and drove a marked ambulance response vehicle that also carried medical equipment. He was so convincing that he managed to dupe a pensioner into letting him move into a home after he told her he was medically trained. But in reality, he had no such qualifications.
As a matter of fact, he was later arrested for 3 counts of battery against a 71-year-old. But despite being arrested a number of times for the same offence, he was never arrested for impersonating a paramedic. And the reason for this is because under current UK law, it's only an offence to impersonate a police officer and none of the other emergency services.
As a matter of fact, one of the College of Paramedics fellows, David Davis, was an expert witness on the case, and such were his concerns and that of a police officer involved in the case that they have since called for the government to change the legislation to make it illegal to impersonate a paramedic or any other health and care professional, just as it is for impersonating a police officer. Mr. Davis carries on by saying, "Many people are confused about this, as it is well known that professions such as nurses, doctors and paramedics have titles protected by law. But the legislation doesn't cover impersonation, which leaves the police powerless to arrest in many cases. Instead, individuals such as Martin or the recent case in Wales, get arrested for fraud or driving offences. But that's after the crime has been committed. This is why the law must change. But while we're waiting for the law to change, people are still faking it and the newspapers are loving it. Now, people might argue that I shouldn't be making this documentary because I'm just highlighting the problem and could give people ideas. Well, no offence, but this is happening right now. So people already have the idea, and if it's not challenged, then things will never change. Now, let's just go back and look at some more of eBay's policies regarding the sale of this gear. Remember I said that the uniform had to be obsolete? Well, under uniforms, the restricted tab does state in black and white obsolete uniforms that don't look like current uniforms. Well, I think I've proved that to be too hard for the public to distinguish without being put in danger. It also states that police uniforms should not have any police markings. Well, you remember this? But if you go to the Not Allowed tab, you'll see a whole host of things that I've just bought on my test purchase. Even if you go to eBay's policy on selling badges belonging to certain agencies, you'll clearly see that I managed to buy the fourth one down with no checks or issues. Plus, if you go further down the list, you'll also see something else I managed to buy. Now if you skip forward to lights, you'll see that it states under Not Allowed, fully operational emergency vehicles with lights, sirens, etc. Yeah, I found this on eBay. Plus, it mentions the sale of LED blue lighting, which again I managed to buy. To be honest, it clearly looks to me that eBay is very lax when it comes to following their own policy. I wrote to eBay asking for a statement regarding this and never received a reply. Surprise, surprise. One person who did reply was David Davis, who I mentioned earlier on from the College of Paramedics, asking him if anything had changed from his initial report, and he said, "There still remains concerns within professional circles, and we are not aware of any changes to any relevant legislation nor any action taken by the government in regards to further safeguards to protect the public from fraudsters. However, we are aware of continued cases of fake paramedics in society." To show how important it is to stop the sale of equipment used by the emergency services to members of the public, in 2010 an episode of the Fly on the Wall documentary Police Interceptors provided us with a real-life fake paramedic.
Having just pinged ANPR cameras further down the road, Rob and Emily set out to investigate.
We need to catch it before it gets to 29 in case we've lost it. We're looking for a car with real, Battenberg on the back of it. There it is. Okay. See it on the brow of the hill?
Yeah, I see it. Just in front of that white van.
They soon spot an emergency vehicle up ahead. But is it genuine or a fake?
It's got an ambulance written on the back of it. Get onto Suffolk now while we're...
Emily radios base for some help identifying the vehicle.
Could you get onto Suffolk and just bottom out whether this is definitely, the ambulance or not?
But before Suffolk can respond, the ambulance activates its emergency lights.
Does he have authority to drive the blue lights?
I don't know, it could be interesting. He's trying not to get pulled over, I reckon, maybe.
It's a surreal situation. It's not often the cops are the ones following the blue lights.
He's spotted us. He must have spotted us, and that's why. Oh, right. Have you got a driving licence and identification on you?
I'm afraid.
No, OK.
You got no identification at all, not a bank card or anything, your name on it?
I even know, to be honest, I pulled over because I had a call. I think there's been an accident on the call now.
So he was on his way to attend an accident around the corner.
So you work for the ambulance service, do you?
I do, yeah.
Oh, right. Right, what's your name?
I'm afraid I can't say anything from the camera, I'm afraid.
Why's that?
Fast forward to 2016 and 6 years on, the fraudster was arrested again for gaining access to the headquarters of London Ambulance Service in order to steal confidential papers after yet again posing as, you've guessed it, a paramedic. But luckily enough, he was rumbled by eagle-eyed staff who recognised him. The prosecutor in the case said the defendant had a dangerous obsession with the London Ambulance Service and the ambulance service generally. It was claimed that the fake paramedic, Andrew Vincent, was trying to get hold of a resource file which contained highly confidential documents containing numbers on ambulance staff, information about where they were located, details of community response schemes, call signs and emergency incident numbers.
I suppose one thing you've got to ask is who is supplying these uniforms? Who is supplying these to companies to sell on eBay? Or members of the public to sell on eBay? Is it the emergency services themselves due to budget cuts and just trying to claim some money back? Or is it the actual manufacturers of these uniforms? Now, I've tried to contact all the authorities and everybody else regarding this, asking the same questions, and nobody is getting back to me at all. I don't know what it is they have to hide, and you would think they'd be all over this like a tramp on chips, wouldn't you? But no, not at all.
With the added security risks associated with such uniforms, are those who are supplying these items putting the pound before the public? Anyway, I think it's time to nip back home for a nice cuppa.
Okay, there is something that I don't get. If you're a fantasist like Andrew and Joshua, when you've got your blue lights on, where is it you're actually going to? Obviously emergency services, you get a call from the public, comes through to the control room, then the control room dispatch what they need and who they need. You are getting dispatched by nobody and going to nothing. I mean, even criminals have a goal at the end of theirs. They dress up as police or ambulance to commit a crime. So they actually have a goal, unlike you.
The fact of the matter is that unregulated sales of this type of equipment through eBay, whether here in the UK or in the US, the more dangerous it is for the public. And with the added failure of our UK government not to address it and to make it illegal to impersonate any of our emergency services other than the police, is making me question, who should I trust?
I've contacted the police, the ambulance and the fire brigade regarding all this, and I've had no reply from any of them, which is a bit of a shame really. I've also contacted MPs, and again I've had nothing, which is quite surprising because at the end of the day you're supposed to take my concerns on board and you haven't done. So I'm totally concerned about this, as I'm pretty sure a lot of other people will be and a lot of my viewers will be. It would have been nice to get a reply. So where does this leave us? Are we going to see a change in the UK law or not? There's nothing yet, and like I said, there should be. I'm pretty sure after you've seen this video you'll be thinking the same thing. The questions are there. eBay haven't even contacted me. Basically the only person to contact me was David Davis. So that's it. Curiosity, eBay police. Are you concerned? If so, leave a message at the bottom. Thanks for watching.